normally do trigger warnings on my videos, but for this one, I'm going to. Trigger warning for grape, DV, schmurder. If any of those things bother you, skip this one and just come back to the next. So this story was sent in by someone who I'm just going to call B, and B said that this took place when she was 19 years old, and at the time she was in a toxic relationship. It was a DV situation. It was so bad at one point that the guy actually ended up putting her in the hospital. She told me that she had a lot of siblings. She was like one of 7, and she was one of the youngest, so she had a lot of older siblings, and one of her older brothers recently had moved to rural Tennessee, and when he left, he told her, like, hey, like, if you ever want to come live with me, that's fine, just call me. B told me she knew that if she stayed in that area, she would just end up running right back to the guy who was abusing her. So before she even got out of the hospital, she called her brother and asked if she could come live with him, and immediately he says yes. So the day after she gets out of the hospital, she packs up her stuff and she moves to rural Tennessee. She moves in with her brother, her brother's wife, and their 16-year-old son, Clint. And she said that she and Clint were so close in age that it was not like an aunt and nephew relationship. It was like a sibling relationship or like a cousin relationship. Her brother, her sister-in-law, and Clint are super wonderful to her. Her sister-in-law even ends up giving her a Jeep and is like, drive this until you can afford something better or whatever you want. She gets a job at the local coffee shop. She's just starting to settle in. Now, remember, Clint is 16 years old, so he is still attending high school and cannot drive at this point. One day he calls his mom and tells her that he's not feeling well and he needs to come home. But his mom and his dad both work a 9-to-5 job. So she says, hey, I can't come get you, but I bet B can come get you. So B's sister-in-law calls her and is like, hey, can you go pick Clint up? He's not feeling well at school. B's like, absolutely, not a problem. She says she prints off the directions to the high school on MapQuest. Stone Ages, yeah. But she prints them off on MapQuest. She gets in the Jeep. She heads to the school. She picks Clint up. No issues. When they get back to the Jeep, Clint is like, hey, you don't need to use those MapQuest directions because I can get us home. I'll just tell you how to get there. And she's thinking, okay, you live here, so obviously you know where you're going. Wrong, he doesn't. He ends up telling her to take all of these turns and then finally admits that he has no idea where they are. And they are so far off course at this point that she can't even try to reverse the MapQuest directions to get them back to anywhere where she could figure out how to get back to the house. She said it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun was shining, so she really wasn't that concerned until the Jeep started to sputter because she thought she was just going like quickly up the road to grab him at school and then come home. Not that they were going to go on this adventure. So she doesn't have any gas. She's not too concerned. She's like, it's okay. It's broad daylight. We'll figure it out. Well, the Jeep ends up running out of gas on a road in the middle of nowhere, country road, no houses, no civilization, nothing. They're sitting there and B tells Clint, like, listen, I'm going to get out and I'm going to walk to civilization to see if I can find a gas station. And then we'll just go from there. Clint's like, no, let's just stay put because my parents are going to realize that we're not home, that we're missing, and they'll come find us. They're sitting in the Jeep and they're arguing about this, so they don't even notice that this old car pulls up behind them. And they don't even realize that anyone is there until this guy knocks on B's window. So she looks over and this guy is sitting like right here. She says he looks to be like late 60s, early 70s, very dirty. Like there is dirt embedded onto his skin. He's got on a white shirt, really dirty overalls, and he has no teeth. So she says she like cracks her window a little bit and she's like, hey, what's going on? Guy asks her like, what are you guys doing? Like what's happening out here? So she tells him, hey, like, look, like we just ran out of gas. Sorry to bother you. Like we're totally fine. Thanks. Goes to roll the window up. This guy grabs her window to stop her from rolling it up. I'm so sorry. I am losing my voice, so I'm just going to take a little Diet Pepsi break because I need some of the low carbonation. But tell you what, when you don't drink anymore and all you drink is water, that's like a hit. But anyways, this guy grabs her window to stop her from rolling it up. He is not liking this. The vibes are off. Something is not right with this guy. She just has this bad feeling. But he grabs her window and he's like, listen, I will give you a ride to the nearest gas station. It's like 1.5 miles away. We can get you gas, get you a gas can, and I'll just bring you back to the Jeep. B says she kind of starts to feel like a little bit of an a-hole because she thinks she's just like judging someone based on appearance. Even though her flags are dinging, she's like, okay. Both her and Clint start to get out of the car and he's like, no, just you. And B is like, I think not. No, like he's gonna have to come with me. Like he's a minor, like I'm responsible for him. Like he's gonna ride with us. And he's like, okay, that's fine, but you ride in the front and he rides in the back. Again, B's red flags are going off and she's like, no, we're both gonna ride in the back seat. I'll ride in the back seat with him. It's fine. She says this guy is super frustrated about this, but he's like, okay, whatever. So B and Clint get in the back seat. B says that the first thing that she notices when she gets into his car is that there is a pew-pew on the floorboard. She also kicks the shells that go inside of that pew-pew when she gets in the car. Now B brushes this off. She's like, I'm in the South. This is what they do. This is normal. I know. Takes off, they start driving. She's trying to make small talk with him, but he is just like really not interested in any sort of conversation. So she kind of just stops and she's just kind of fidgeting with her hands and she kind of like reaches down between like the 2 seats in the back and she feels something that's like cold and metallic. So she kind of like pulls it up a little bit and she looks down and she says that it's a pair of like shiny handcuffs with like red stuff all over them. She's looking at these things and she's thinking, it's rust. This is just rust on these. It's not a big deal. She makes eye contact with Clint in the back seat. Clint is like, B does not say anything. She just shoves him back down, tries to like just ignore the fact that they're even there, and they just ride along. Finally, like after what feels like forever, she asks him, how much farther is the gas station? He said, it's just up here around the bend. Well, they keep driving a little ways, and sure enough, it opens up and there is a gas station. Pete and Clint get out of the car, they walk inside, and they're like, hey, we'll be right back, like no big deal, whatever. She grabs a gas can, she grabs a funnel, and she goes up to like the clerk at the counter, and she was like, at this point I realized like we should have called for help. I don't know what was going on. I think like I was just in shock, or I don't know, but they didn't call for help. She's terrified. Clint has gone mute. She finally starts to get her wits about her, where she's like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna ask to call for help. The guy walks in, like follows them into the gas station. She looks at Clint after this guy walks in, like he's terrified. She looks at the attendant at the gas station, who is like perked up, like he ends up grabbing the gas can, grabbing the funnel, and he tells her like, I'm gonna pump your gas for you, so just like meet me back outside. He says she only had $15 and she had used that to buy the gas can, and the funnel. So like if he left without them, they were just stranded. He walks back outside. Gas station attendant looks at them and is like, are you with that guy? And they're like, unfortunately, yeah. We ran out of gas just up the road and he's just helping us out. And the guy was like, yeah, you need to be careful with him. He's an odd duck. B and Clint walk back outside to where this guy has the gas can, and B is actually like, listen, like, thank you for the ride, but we'll actually just like walk back to the Jeep and we'll carry the gas. Like, we don't want to waste any more of your time. And he's like, no, I'm going to drive you back, and like will not let the gas can go. So he's like, you ride in the front and he rides in the back. And he puts the gas can on the seat, in the back seat, like behind the driver's seat that B had ridden on to get there. B is like, no. And she moves the gas can over to the middle between her and Clint, and she gets in the back seat. The guy is irate at this point. He says that he is driving them back to the Jeep, but he is driving erratically, super fast, taking turns. Like she's slamming against the door, like he is taking these turns to get them back to the Jeep so quickly. Along one of these turns, like she kind of reaches down to where these handcuffs were, like in between the seat, and she realizes that the handcuffs are gone. She's like fumbling around for them, nothing there, like he has done something with them. And she says that's when she gets really scared. They get back to the Jeep, he pulls up, he lets them out, they get out of the car, they get the gas can. She thanks him for the ride, thanks him for the help, and starts to walk away. But like before she can walk away, he says, hey, you're lucky. And she says he just like spins tires and drives off. I don't like that. She dumps a little of the gas out just to make sure that he hadn't put anything in it. Everything looks fine. She fills the Jeep up, and then her and Clint do make it home safely. Oh, there was just the loudest bang on my wall. Made me jump like 10 feet. I'm the only one here. I don't know. I'll really be interested to see if that caught that. B and Clint go home, and nothing really comes of this. Like, they don't hear anything about this guy. Clint's parents don't know who this guy is. There's no name associated with it, nothing. But she said it was just weird. Like, his car was burgundy. It was a Cadillac. It was an older model. And then she realized it had no license plate on it. So there was, like, no way for her to, like, report this guy. And he didn't really do anything other than creep her out. And you can't just, like, call the cops on somebody for vibes. You know what I mean? So months passed. Like, it's been, like, 3 months. And her and Clint have kind of forgotten about it at this point. They're sitting at home alone one night, and this news report comes on. And on the road that they had broken down on, same stretch of road, like same exact area, there are actually 4 bodies found. Yeah, 4 bodies of young women who had been violated, violently murdered, raped, and then left out on the side of the road just completely nude. Unfortunately, there wasn't a suspect for this crime, but people had called in tips that they saw an old burgundy Cadillac driving down the road in that area right before these girls were found. B calls in a tip. That's all she can do. Nothing comes from this. Whoever committed this crime was never caught. She says that for years, like, she has looked to see if this has been solved or if there's suspects, and never anything. He says, like, she can't prove that it was this guy, but she really feels like it was. And she thinks that if Clint had not been there with her when the Jeep had broken down, her fate would have been very different. And when the guy walked up to the window of the Jeep, he didn't know that Clint was with her. And she said she tried to play it as smart as she could with riding in the back seat and staying close to Clint and not like letting him get her alone. She has always looked to see if these poor girls, if they've found any justice, and they have not. Like, no matter with the tips and calling in, nothing ever came. It was never solved. So that's today's story. It's a little bit different. I hope that you enjoyed that. If you have a story like this, please send it to me. I'd like to kind of like start a series like this as well. No, it's not paranormal, but it's absolutely terrifying. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow.